Hello, everybody. This is the Enlightened Misanthrope, and this is my 8th episode. I am probably I think this drops the Sunday before Thanksgiving. So, in preparation for that, happy Thanksgiving. My Thanksgiving is not going to be that special. I have to travel to my girlfriend's parents' place. Not exactly my favorite thing to do. And then I also have to go to my mother's. I probably won't have to see my dad, because my parents are divorced and my dad gives two shits about holidays, period. So me coming over there necessarily isn't important. My mother, however, holidays are important simply for the fact that she can force me to come up there. And it's not exactly, we don't have a bad relationship. We did for a while when I lived there, but it's gotten better because I've done a lot to help her out in the last few years. And I always told her when I lived there, when I leave, you're going to be very, very disappointed in all the things that I did that you have to do now. And an example of that was she called me up one day and she said, "Did you used to sharpen the knives when you lived here?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Yeah, my knives are really dull." Now, for those of you who know mothers, and most of you, if you have mothers like a mother like this, it was a realization and also a request. So next time you're here, sharpen my knives, please. And by the way, oh yeah, you must have done that, because I don't know why my knives were so dull for a really long time. And that's what I would do. Once, twice a week, or once or twice every couple of months, I'd just run it, and when I got annoyed with it was really when it happened, because I'd be chopping something and be like, "This fucking knife sucks." So then I'd have to do it. So I don't know if y'all are holiday happy-go-lucky people. That's great. My life hasn't allowed me to really be holiday happy-go-lucky. Like my grandmother on my mother's side, she found Thanksgiving. She liked Thanksgiving, but other than that, and as years went on, it kind of soured. She soured on it because she had to come to our house, and that's, I stay most of the time at her old place, and when I have to drive up to my mother's, it's a fucking hour and a half away. Well, then I would come and get her. I'd come here like 3-4 days before. I'd stay for 3-4 days. Then I'd drive back up to my mother's, and then we'd stay there for 4 or 5 days, because I'm not fucking turning. I wasn't turning and burning an hour and a half one way. So 3 hours total. I think it's like 150 miles in one day. I wasn't fucking doing that. Fuck you. Well, now I do it on a fucking regular basis. I think last week I spent over 30 hours in the car. And for some of you, if you're listening to this in the car and you're like, "Dude, you only spent that much?" Well, for me, that's a lot. Like, I get super anxiety in the car. I fucking hate the car. Like, I literally feel bad about myself now, because I couldn't figure out why. And I had a lot of changes in my life in the last couple of years, and a lot of things have gone a certain way, but I couldn't figure out that, hey, dum-dum, it's because you drive 300. Like, there would be days where, like, 2-3 days I wouldn't be in a car. I could do everything without being in a car. And I miss that. Honest to fucking Christ, do I miss that. And I would like to, I'd like to get back to that, but I don't necessarily see that being probable, as the closest town to me is 15 miles away. So every fucking thing I have to do, like today I had to go grocery shopping. I like going grocery shopping, but the problem is it's fucking a half hour, it's a 30-mile fucking drive, and with the deer and everything with the hunting season, it's fucking, you gotta go, you can't, I can get there in like 15 minutes if I like superly speed. But if I don't, then, if I go like the normal speed limit, or even, about 40 miles an hour, 45 at night now when I go to the gym, because I go to the gym and it's dark by 5 o'clock. Well, I don't go to the gym. I'm in the gym until about 7 or 6:30. So for me, it's, I get out of there. Well, then you come home in the pitch fucking black while on them back roads. No way. So I drive about 40 miles an hour while it takes me fucking 35-40 minutes to get home. That's ridiculous. I think I got a solution to that, but I'm not gonna talk about it yet, because if I do, and then it doesn't happen, I'm gonna be disappointed. So I'm gonna try to keep it out of the ether until I'm ready to go. Until it hopefully goes forward, because it's a fairly large investment, and I don't know if I'll have enough money for that. But so if you're going to be driving and listening to this and on your way to Thanksgiving, I hope you have a good holiday and don't eat too much. Don't get sick. Don't get tired. You know, that tryptophan shit is sort of makes you sleepy, but it's a lot more to do with the fact that everybody eats 300 fucking carbohydrates, you know. But I hope you enjoy yourself, and I hope you all have a good Thanksgiving. So this week, I don't really have, other than that little salvo about Thanksgiving, much other to talk about than sports. And I do have my viewable entertainment of the week. I've changed it to viewable entertainment because I've mostly been watching TV shows. I taped a bunch of shit, so I've just been bam watching them. But I'm going to start with the NBA. The season's well underway at this point. The Jimmy Butler saga is over. There's a new saga that's starting with the Wizards for an entirely different reason. The Bucks beat the Golden State Warriors. I don't know why I blanked on that. The Golden State Warriors apparently are having in-house fighting, which makes me happier than anything else. I'm going to start with the Jimmy Butler saga being over. I'm glad it's over. I think he went to a good team. But being on a young team with Ben Simmons, who can't shoot, then Markelle Fultz guy who he hurt his shoulder, fucked up his shot, then had a shot coach who he was like, they talked about him all the time, that Drew Hanlon, and then now they don't work together, much less speak to each other. And he shoots better now, but he's still apparently got a hitch in his free throw. I haven't watched as many Sixers games as I'd like. I haven't watched as much sports as I'd like to. I basically watch highlights and stuff like that. I watch more UFC than I do anything else until January, when they take it away from me because fucking ESPN sucks, but we're not going to get back into that. But you got Markelle Fultz, who has confidence issues. You have Ben Simmons, who could be better. And you have Joel Embiid, who don't take no shit off anybody. So between the three of those guys, which are all young pieces on their team, Jimmy Butler probably won't be able to fuck with Embiid. The other two, they're probably going to get, unless Simmons has some pushback, because he doesn't say much. I like him because he doesn't say much and he just kind of plays. But with Jimmy Butler, based on the situation we saw with the fucking Timberwolves, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to go. I'll be interested to see, because he's a good player, and he definitely offers, he adds value to a team. But I said, from my point of view, if I was, Elton Brand's now the general manager of the Sixers, I wouldn't have. They traded Dario Saric and Robert Covington. Between the two of them, I like Covington better. I think Covington's a better player, and I would be more interested in keeping him. But they didn't, and they traded him and Jared Bayless, and I think a second-round pick. Well, Jared Bayless is essentially worthless. He's been worthless for 5 years. I've never liked him. I liked him better when he had hair, but he wasn't. He was a scoring point guard, but never. He seems like he had to take a massive amount of the offense to be able to score his points, and he was just very inefficient, is what it seemed like. I don't know if the statistics back me up on that, but that's just the feeling I got, because he played for the Bucks for a while, and I watched him because I actually liked him. I think he played at Arizona, and when he was in Arizona, I liked him, and I kind of tracked him. But Robert Covington, I've always liked him. Small school guy, came from, relative obscurity, and he's played really well. He really plays very well. Dario Saric, he was one of those European guys that everybody talked about, and he's done all right, but they're never like Mario Hezonja or whatever the fuck, that guy from the Magic, who they drafted 5th overall, and now he plays for the Knicks, and he's not, these guys come from Europe, and they got, I swear to God, they have more expectation than the one-and-done guys. Because you see them in professional leagues and you think, oh, well, if they're this good in a professional league, then we get them over here and they're only this young, we can develop even more. Well, then half the time they stay exactly where the fuck they were before, because that's where they are. But it's probably good for the Bulls. I think Robert Covington basically helps them, replaces Jimmy. But, you're not going to replace Jimmy Butler's production, but between Jeff Teague, Karl Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins, and Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose has played well. I think you can probably get it with the addition of Covington. I don't know how much Saric is going to play, but maybe he'll do something too. I'm very interested in this Wizards topic because I remember John Wall. he's always seemingly been a controversial figure ever since I can remember. He was the number 1 overall recruit. He went to Kentucky. He was an okay player, but he wasn't great at he's great. Like he wasn't everything he was billed to be. I remember the talk around him was just massively hyping him and huge praise, and he was going to be the next fucking Jordan or something. I don't really know, but I don't understand. And so then this year, if you go to Deadspin, they showed a picture of him at Camp USA. And that's for the USA basketball team. He looked fucking terrible. He looked like he was 60 fucking pounds overweight. His hair looked horrible. His face looked, he just looked like shit. And I was like, this guy's a top basketball. Fuck, he looks like a guy at a rec league, like some rec league guy who just shows up and like plays a couple times a month, but he's not anywhere near serious about it. I'm like, this guy was a fucking all-star? What the fuck? And then now he's just apparently, that whole team sucks. The fucking Wizards suck. And the statistic I keep hearing is that they have 85% of their salary cap designated for 3 guys. John Wall, Bradley Beal, and Otto Porter. 2 of the 3 are ostensibly not, I want to say terrible, but they aren't terrible. They're just not worth it. Let's put it that way. Otto Porter currently is being outplayed by Kelly Oubre, who is as inconsistent a player as I've ever seen. Also kind of a mental midget from what I understand, because he doesn't really he was at Kansas and he was a decently high recruit and he never played, and Bill Self basically told him to leave because he's a head case. He's just a head case, and he's in a contract year, so my guess is he's playing well because he wants a contract. But Otto Porter isn't, and he got signed to all that money. And Otto Porter's an enigma to me. Like, I remember when he came out, he was at one point the consensus number 1 overall recruit out of high school. I think he wound up being like 3rd, but he got wound up at Georgetown, and for whatever reason I have an affinity for Georgetown because I kind of like their uniforms. I love the fact that they had Patrick Ewing, Dikembe Mutombo, Alonzo Mourning, all those big centers, and I've always wanted to see them get back to that because I didn't get to see Georgetown in its heyday, and I kind of wanted to see that. And so then when Jeff Green goes there, or guys go there, I was like, ooh, who's that? Ooh, who's that? And Otto Porter went there, and I was like, ooh, this will be good. Well, he wasn't that great, but he still got drafted 3rd overall. So he gets drafted 3rd overall, and then he does okay, I think, in his contract year and gets signed to an outlandish deal by the Nets, just because they were searching for talent, because they threw all their talent, they gave all their picks to the fucking Celtics. And so the Wizards signed him. Now, the Wizards made a good pick in Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal I wasn't too sure about when he came out. I think they drafted him 3rd as well, maybe lower, a little lower, but it was in the single digits. And he was a good basketball player at Florida, but I wasn't sure. I just thought he was a shooter. That's what you heard. He can really shoot the ball. That's all you heard about him. I didn't think he was much of a playmaker. I didn't think he really had good defensive he reminded me of a guy who could shoot, and I didn't really see his development past that. Well, he's developed. He really has. He's a very good basketball player. A far higher caliber, all-around player than I ever thought he would be. And out of the 3, he's probably the best guy. They were talking about Jimmy Butler and the Timberwolves asking for Bradley Beal for Jimmy Butler, and the Wizards are like, no. Well, to be honest, if you want to get out of your cap situation, that's not a bad way. Jimmy Butler goes there, he'd probably fist fight with John Wall and then leave. And I've always had, and you might say, well, you live in Wisconsin, why the fuck do you care about the Wizards? When I was a kid, younger man, they had Gilbert Arenas and Antoine Jameson, Caron Butler. Now, eventually, that team had to be broken up due to the gun violence and all that other bullshit that happened with Javaris Crittenton. But that was a team I enjoyed. Caron Butler's from Wisconsin. I didn't really know all that, but I always liked him as a player. Antoine Jameson was one of my favorite players, and for all of his foibles, I enjoyed Gilbert Arenas. He was a good player. I thought his antics were a little too much, but he was a good player. I enjoyed watching that team. I liked the construction. I liked the idea, big 3, kind of deal. And I always thought, God, they're a piece away. They're this away, and just never happened. So I always paid attention to the Wizards. Now, they were disappointing then as they are now. But this cast of characters, I mean, John Wall and Bradley Beal, it's reported on a consistent basis that they fucking hate each other. And they fucking hate each other. And if that's the case, and you hate your teammate that much, well, then what are we saying here? You know what I mean? I mean, you're a shooting guard, he's the point guard, vice versa, and you guys can't get along, like, at all? It just, you know, and this all boils down to John Wall for me, because John Wall was this super duper basketball player. I mean, he was considered this really great next high level all-star, above that, you know, all NBA fucking guy. And what has he done? I mean, you tell me, what has he done? I mean, he doesn't play. He never really was that interested in defense, but if he wanted to play defense, he could. He was fast. I mean, he was really fast. He could fly. I mean, that was the one thing he had. He's not the best passer. He doesn't have the best judgment outside the court and inside the court as well, because I was hearing there's that report that Stephen A. had this week that he spends time at this club all the time on, you know, every weekend or whatever, and there could be, I mean, because everybody says his face looks puffy now. Well, his face probably looks puffy because he's drinking copious amounts of alcohol, because that puffs up your face. That's just my guess. Or, you know, some kind of other substance that I don't have experience with, but I know people get puffy faces when they drink a lot of alcohol. And I just think, you know, at one time he was pretty good, and now his next contract is going to kick in for about $40 million a year. He's not worth fucking $40 million a year. He's probably worth like 14, maybe, but he's not worth 40. And to have that much of your cap significantly tied up in a player who, honestly, he doesn't look like he wants to play basketball anymore. He looks like he wants to be retired. He looks like he's done. Like, he reminds me of Derrick Rose when Derrick Rose was with the Cavs and he seemed very disinterested and then he left the team. That's what it seems like to me. Like, when Derrick Rose was with the Knicks, I didn't see him leaving. When he did, and that was a little surprising. But then later on with the Cavs, it was like, I think he's going to be done here in a minute. And I thought he was going to be done for good. I didn't think it was going to last, but it did, and he got better, and that is what it is. But I don't know. Then they have Dwight Howard now, and, you know, they got all these guys who ostensibly are talented basketball players, but they have no team cohesion. And I hate Scott Brooks as a coach. I remember Bomani Jones used to talk about how terrible Scott Brooks was when he was the Oklahoma City Thunder head coach. And I have no respect for him because I don't know what he does. I mean, other than playing basketball at one point, he has done nothing. So I just don't see it I just don't see him as a very good coach. But they're saying that he won't get fired because he's owed $21 million and that owner is not going to pay him to go away. He's going to coach that team and he's going to do his job. And I don't know, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, for a lot of the times we see coaches get fired and they have guaranteed deals, they go away, but the team maybe gets better or has a better coach or whatever. But would you rather make the coach do his job even if he's bad at it? I don't know. I don't know if that's a good way to go about it or not, but it's not my money, so what the fuck do I care? And I don't live in Washington anyway, so what should I have to say about it, right? And now the Warriors apparently are having infighting where Draymond Green and Kevin Durant are going back and forth. Draymond got suspended last night for a game because, his actions were terrible. He's a fucking asshole. I mean, he's just a fucking asshole. If they wanted to trade him to the Bucks for, I couldn't even tell you, Dellavedova. If they wanted to trade him for him with that big ass contract and he's not done much of anything, I would say no. You keep that guy. I don't want him anywhere near my franchise. I'd take Jimmy Butler before him. I mean, because Jimmy Butler just wants to play. He keeps his mouth shut, until now. But for a long time, he was quiet. Draymond Green's been a mouthy asshole since fucking Michigan State. And I don't want anybody on my team like that. I really don't, because it doesn't do anything but sow discord. And you see, There's supposedly a clip that's out there that says, "That's why I'm out." That's what Kevin Durant said when Draymond Green is yelling at him, and he's like, "Blah, blah," and he's like, "That's why I'm out." I'm assuming that means that's why he's leaving, because everybody thinks he's leaving, and if he leaves, it's because of fucking Draymond Green. You couldn't keep Kevin Durant there because Draymond Green's a fucking asshole. That's how I feel about it. I'm glad there's a little dysfunction with the Warriors because I'm so sick. And then, of course, the Rockets have to be absolutely atrocious with their own malcontent, which is fucking Carmelo, who, why the fuck he's on that team? He didn't like D'Antoni in the first place when he had him with the Knicks for like 4 or 5 years, ran the guy out of town, and then now he went and chose to be with him. I bet he goes to Miami and plays with Dwayne Wade, because Dwayne Wade already came out and said what's happening to him is disgusting. So I bet he goes to the fucking Heat and they just kind of, it's him and Wade, and they play together and screw around, and because Anthony's not that old. I mean, he's, I think, 33. He's significantly younger than Wade. And Wade, as of 3 years ago, wasn't that bad. I mean, he's bad now because he has absolutely no interest in staying in shape, and he doesn't want to play any defense, and he just wants to get easy buckets and be Dwayne Wade, which is fine. He's on his last hurrah. He said that. But I don't know. I just think that these malcontents on these teams, I don't know why you keep them. I don't give a shit how much you have to pay to get rid of them. I'd get rid of them. I'd just be done with them. It'd be like a football kind of mentality in these other sports, which is harder to do because it's smaller rosters, and if you do somebody what they think is dirty as far as the players go, well, then you're going to have a hard time getting players, and I understand that, but I just think you can't look at Draymond Green. He gets in fights with everybody. He has no friends. As far as I see, I mean, his own team doesn't even like him at this point. So I don't know. And the Bucks beat the Warriors the other day, and that's exciting for me because that was last week already. But I'm excited about the Bucks. I don't want to get. I want to temper my expectations because I still feel like they're a piece away. But Jabari Parker left. He looks terrible in Chicago. They've significantly upgraded their offense. Jason Kidd was one of the worst coaches the Bucks have ever had. I mean, Larry Drew was here for a few years, and he was inept. But fucking Jason Kidd was the biggest. He's the biggest fucking idiot. I don't know. I just remember that we as Bucks fans had to sit and watch Rashard Vaughn because he was represented by the same agency as fucking Jason Kidd, and they convinced him to draft him. Now, Von Maker was also with that same agency, and he's turned out to be serviceable as a player, but Rashard Vaughn was terrible. And the guy who owns the Bucks was like his financial guy or advisor or whatever. So then that worked out, and Jason Kidd wanted to, that's how he got the. It's just bullshit. It's just bullshit. He's a terrible fucking coach. I hope he never gets another job ever. I don't understand how he got a job right away in the first place. Again, another Scott Brooks-esque guy, other than playing basketball, and I don't know if Scott Brooks won any championships, but Jason Kidd did. Other than winning a championship, what the fuck, what pedigree do you have, I'd rather see Jason Kidd play than have him coach, even at his advanced age. I don't know. I don't think he's very good, and I think his ability as a coach is proven to be not very good, because Budenholzer isn't the. I mean, he's okay when he has players, but when he doesn't have players, he's not the most developed guy, which is fine. And apparently there was some dysfunction in Atlanta with the path, because their owner came out and said he was a dummy and now he's not, and I don't care, because if Budenholzer is mid-level to lower echelon of an NBA coach, Jason Kidd couldn't get that much out of that team. And granted, now Antetokounmpo's taken another step forward, so that helps. But the offense is better, the spacing is better, everything's better that is controlled by the coach. So if that's better and it makes the team that much better, that just shows you that Jason Kidd went, here's a basketball, figure it out. I'm going to go sit down. I never thought he was a good coach. I never thought it was a good idea to sign him, and I never thought it was a good idea to have him on the team to be the coach. And it wasn't proven not to be, and I'm just glad he's gone. And Budenholzer, even if he's not the best, is still far and away better than that guy. So I'm going to get off the NBA because not everybody's an NBA fan, and I talked about 4 separate things there. So I did watch the UFC Fight Night. last weekend. The last two are pretty much the only two I cared about. There were other fights. Neil Dariush is okay, but he usually doesn't have that much of interesting fights. I watched the prelims and I watched the main card. That Devontae Smith came out and knocked that guy out really quickly. Chaz Skelly, there was another fight in between there where a guy got submitted, but that John Gunther guy, he's got a strange look with the hair and the mustache. I didn't think he was going to win, and he lost. So, but Chaz Kelly got screwed. I thought, because this Bobby Moffett guy, I've never heard of him, and Skelly is a pretty good fighter. I mean, he's a little bit older than the Moffett guy, but he's pretty good. And it didn't look like he tapped out. It didn't look like he was unconscious, but you never do know, and the ref's making the call. I'm not, the ref was standing right there. And Chaz Kelly says he's going to appeal it. And everything else, but I mean, that stuff usually only goes one way, so I don't really foresee it being being any different. But maybe I'm wrong. And I hope it is, because if he truly did get screwed, he deserves to get some, he deserves it to be wiped off his record. Ashley Yoder fought Amanda Cooper. And that was a fight of pretty good-looking women. I mean, the fight was okay. Wasn't one I was terribly interested in, but they're awful purty, so I like looking at them, And I don't know. Amanda Cooper got a big-ass sleeve now, like a sleeve of tattoos. And I'm not against tattoos, but I just don't understand why you got to have a whole sleeve of them, And it's another one of those things where you have to buy into a culture, so you have to feel, because a lot of fighters have tattoos, so then now you have to get tattoos if you're a fighter, and people buy into that kind of thing, like they buy into that culture where you have to have tattoos to be a fighter. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think you can have tattoos if you want to have tattoos, but just because you're in that culture doesn't mean you have to have tattoos. And if you have one tattoo of, like, your brother died, or something that's meaningful, that I understand, but a whole sleeve of tattoos, I don't understand what that means, and that's just my personal ignorance. I don't understand the tattoo idea. I mean, I thought about getting tattoos when I was younger. I was going to do the douchebag, around the bicep, and then one across my shoulder blades, because I thought that looked like a good look, but I eventually didn't do that because tattoos are expensive. I don't like needles, and the fuck do I need a tattoo for? I used to, when I was a kid, and I really liked that idea. I would take permanent marker, and I would, draw on my arm and make the tattoos that I wanted. They didn't come out the best because, A, I can't draw very well, and B, well, I'm drawing on myself. So it's not, it looks like I was in prison. But, I don't understand. Because she's a really pretty girl, and and I'm not saying she's less pretty because of the tattoo, but it's very distracting. And, I don't understand the need for it, and she shouldn't have to explain it. I would just like to know why, She has no need to explain it. It's her body. Tattoo it up, tattoo your fucking eyeballs if you want. I don't care. But I'm just, she was real pretty, and then she got that tattoo on her arm, and she's still pretty, but it distracts me because I'm like, why the fuck do you have a huge fucking sleeve of tattoo? What the? And it's black and dark, and she's got blonde hair. She's fairly light skinned. It just stands. It's like a big fucking neon sign that stands out of, look at me, and all I can look at is her fucking arm. And I'm not dissecting the tattoos. I'm just like, why the fuck did you do that? And I'm not saying she should or shouldn't have. I'm just saying that's how I interact with her tattoos. And I didn't realize Ashley Yoder was the age that she is. She looks a hell of a lot younger than that. But and then Macy Barber fought. There were a bunch of girl fights this week. Macy Barber knocked that girl out fairly, impressive fashion. Apparently, I was listening to the Fight Companion on my way to school yesterday, and Joe Rogan was saying, and Brendan Schaub were saying how the ref let her get the girl that she knocked out, let that girl get too much damage. I don't really know. I was cooking and playing with the dogs when that was on, so I really, like I said, I only really paid attention where he had my rapt attention for the final two, because I'm a big Cowboy guy. I like Cowboy. I've always liked him. His I like how he doesn't talk a lot of shit, and when he does, he's just like, shut the fuck. You know, he's. I don't really know how he's stoic, but not at the same time. I don't really know how to explain it, but it's just something about him that I've always respected, you know. And that shit that went on at Jackson Winklejohn was a bunch, because I respect Greg Jackson. I really had no opinion on Mike Winklejohn. The only thing I knew about him was that he got his eye taken out by somebody's toenail or some fucking thing. But I have absolutely no respect for him now if what is being said is true, and other fighters are saying it's true, and then there's other fighters that are saying it isn't true, and then Mike Winklejohn keeps defending himself, but he's not helping himself. See, there's a difference. As far as I'm concerned, if you can come out with a reasoned, logical defense, and what you do is you study your opponent's argument. Now, granted, that's what he is. Don Cerrone is Mike Winklejohn's opponent at this point in this verbal spat that they're having. And instead of calling him a cancer, instead of calling him all these things, what you could do is look at his points and go point by point and say, okay, this is what he said. This is what I have to say about that. This is what he said. This is what I have to say about that. Because for people who don't know about what you're talking about, you look like a crazy person. That fucking video he did on Instagram about hanging from his, you know what? What the, are you 4? Like, are you fucking 4? He looks bad. And I don't know if what Don Cerrone is saying is true. I don't know if, you know, I know that he said that the kid could train there, and they said, well, we'll just let you train at your ranch, which apparently he's been doing too, but it's a respect thing. And this really isn't the first time this has happened, because they kind of did this with Rashad, and it's to a lesser degree because John Jones is probably a better fighter than Mike Perry, but Rashad was older, and they kind of went with John Jones instead of staying with Rashad, and they did this again. While the younger guy with more potential, let's stick with him, let's let the older guy, because my guess is Rashad was, you know, doing other stuff and he wasn't there as much, and, you know, and so they couldn't sell the fact, oh, come here and train with Rashad Evans. They can say, come and train with John Jones, come and train with Mike Perry, because they're there all the time. I think now, if a similar situation came up where they had to pick between John Jones and somebody else, not right now, but in, say, 4 or 5 years, John Jones is probably getting pushed out too. It seems to be a culture of pushing out the older fighters, which is kind of bullshit if you ask me. And I don't know if Greg Jackson does it, or because Greg Jackson seems like a reasonable, sensitive, accommodating person. That's what he seems like. Now, he might be the biggest prick that ever walked, but to me, he seems like that. And I think Mike Winklejohn is the asshole of the Jackson Winklejohn collaboration. And so when something needs to be done that's unpleasant, he does it. Now, he also does whatever the fuck he wants to do based on some of the text messages that I've read between coaches and stuff that came out on I think it was on Twitter. I saw it on the Morning Report on MMA Fighting. I could be wrong about that, but I think it was somebody was texting with Frank Lester or something. And I think Winklejohn is just a fucking asshole. I mean, that's what it seems like based on how he's being portrayed and how he's portraying himself, because he's playing himself. I mean, Don Cerrone's already winning. He's already winning because nobody really knows you, Winklejohn. Nobody really has anything to do with you other than the fighters that are in the camp or guys in Albuquerque. But somehow you think that you're going to, in a popularity contest, you're going to beat Cowboy. I think if it was Greg Jackson versus Cowboy, that would be a little more difficult. But even this, Cowboy even said himself, he's like, Greg was like, well, I'll just come to your place and we'll train a couple of times. And so Jackson seems like he's trying to mediate the situation, because Winklejohn's probably like, no, fuck him, we're going to do it. Fuck that motherfucker. He don't come here, and fuck him, and I can't sell him, because he apparently wants to, from what I heard or read or saw, I don't remember anymore, but they had this huge, they built this huge building, and they got to cover this big nut, every month. I think that was Brendan Schaub talking about that. I don't remember. But anyway, They had that, so then they got to bring in all these people off the street to train, and they have to pay. So then they bring in the fighters, and then the fighters train with the regular people, and the people like it because they kind of get a little taste of, if I'm a UFC fan, I'm going to be less of one when they move to ESPN because I'm going to be apocalyptically pissed off. But we're not going to cover that again. That's twice now I've said that. Oh God, do I hate that so much. It bothers me. Every time I watch you, I'm going to go off on a little tangent here quick, and then I'll get back to my point. I watched these last couple of I watched the prelims, I watched this fight card, and I'm fucking mad every time because I know that this is going to happen few and far between. 2 weekends in a row, I watched fucking UFC. Plus the fucking Anthony Smith one. And it's like, oh my God, UFC. I like it, right? And then now I'm going to go to ESPN, and it's going to be UFC 2 months later. UFC. 3 months later, UFC. I mean, unless I want to buy ESPN Plus for only $5 a month, as the Dan Le Batard show likes to keep talking about. Fuck you. Stop pushing their bullshit platform. I know you have to because you're on another one of their platforms, but still, you don't have to fucking talk about how great of a deal it is, because it's not. It's fucking bullshit. I already pay to watch fucking ESPN News where I'm watching you cocksuckers. You know how much I'm paying for that? You fucks. The reason that the cable industry is the way that it is because ESPN charged fucking $90 million for a carrier charge, you asshole. All right, done. Not talking about it anymore. But, Cowboy, and it just, they can't bring in fighters and expect, and I don't know. I don't even remember what I was talking about exactly because I lost my place. But the point being is that Cowboy looks better in this situation. And so then he goes into this fight with Mike Perry. And Cowboy sometimes starts slow. He doesn't always do his best all the time. He always fights, I'm not saying, but he just seems to turtle up a little bit. I don't know what the fuck that is. And everybody says he's real nervous, and he's a slow starter. He's criminally a slow starter. And I've heard that before, and I've seen that. But against Mike Perry, apparently they sparred a bunch of times before they found out they were going to fight. Well, so he had his fucking number. He knew, and even Mike Perry said he's probably going to try to put me on the ground and grapple with me because he fucking kicked my ass a bunch of times. And he did, and he broke the kid's arm. Now, I don't feel bad for Mike Perry, but I also do, because he got involved in a situation where I think Cowboy, if you see that picture, I don't remember where I saw that, but there's one where Cowboy's yanking on the fucking guy's arm and his eyes are about as big around his fucking dinner plate. So yeah. And if he could fucking have torn Mike Winklejohn's head off, he probably would have. And he can say whatever the fuck he wants about his kid, and you ain't taking food out of my kid's mouth and everything else. And his kid was all dressed up because he just had a baby. And that may have had something to do with it, but fucking putting Winklejohn in his fucking place, because they never showed Winklejohn on the camera, so I wasn't sure if he was there, but obviously he was. And if that had nothing to do with it, you're fucking fooled, because he knew he could fucking dominate that guy, and he broke the kid's arm because he was going to fucking prove a point that I'm far from fucking over. And now he wants to fight Conor McGregor, which would be a good fight. I don't think Conor would lose, but I'd like to see it, because if Cowboy beat that fucker, I would be so happy, because that's the complete antithesis of each other. Cowboy doesn't really say very much, and he'll fucking trash talk a little bit, but that's really not what he's there to do. He's just there to show up and fight and put on entertaining fights and then go home. And Conor's there to put on entertaining fights, but moreover, spend money with his mouth. And so I really like the prospect of that. I'll never get to see it, however, because even if it's on, not doing it again. So, I think Cowboy looked good. Probably shouldn't have broke the kid's arm if he could have helped it, but he didn't. And Winklejohn should just shut the fuck up. Don't talk anymore. Hopefully this goes away. Just leave it alone. Because you're not going to win in the court of public opinion, because Cowboy has 300 times more fans than you do. You can post as many Instagram videos as you want, hashtag Joe Rogan, do whatever you want to do, but you're never, ever going to beat Cowboy in a popularity contest, because you come across as a douche just the way you speak. You come across condescending, dismissive, all of that stuff. And dismissing anybody who agrees or likes Cowboy, and because we're hanging from his nuts, basically, is what you were saying without saying it, because you're too much of a fucking pussy to say it. Okay, you're a fucking asshole, and you should shut the fuck up. Because you know what? You'd be better off, you'd be better suited to shut up and let it blow over than keep fucking poking the bear, because you lost. You made Mike Perry get his fucking arm broke. I hope you're happy. I hope that kid that you picked over Cowboy, you got his fucking arm broke. I hope that doesn't have long-term effects on his fucking career, because those arm breaks are nasty. I think it was Paige Van Zandt who's had all that fucking trouble with that broken arm that she had. Okay? You fucking imbecile. You better hope he gets to the right doctor. You better hope they do it right the first time. There's no infection. There's no nothing. Because if I was Mike Perry and I had broken fucking arm and it went sideways, I'd be fucking pissed at that fucking one-eyed asshole, because he's the one who got my arm broken, not me. I just did my job. Now, granted, he pumped up the fight a little bit, and Mike Perry probably should have shut the fuck up, but he didn't. But that Mike Winklejohn made that bed and the kid laid in it. So I don't admonish Cowboy whatsoever, and I think Winklejohn needs to shut the fuck up. So then after that, which was right away in the first round, they have the Korean Zombie versus Yair Rodriguez. And there's a whole, and then of course Yair is stuck in this, the Rodriguez guy is stuck in this fucking bullshit because he went to Jackson Winklejohn. Well, then they had all this breakout, so then he left. He's like, fuck this, I'm not staying here. He said he wasn't about the drama. So he went and trained with Cowboy. And that guy looks like he's fucking 8 feet tall, and somehow he fights at 145. I would like to see him fight like the Stylebender. That would be a great fight. I know Stylebender would probably beat the shit out of him because he fights 185, and he probably could fight 205, maybe even heavyweight if he put on a shit ton of weight, because I think he's like 6'4". But that fucking Stylebender dude, like, versus Yair, with the way that they strike, would be really a cool fight to watch. He'd probably get decimated just because the guy's bigger, but who knows. Anyway, so the Korean Zombie basically just keeps coming forward, and Yair was trying to beat him up. Excuse me. Ugh. But supposedly, it was a fight to call. A lot of people think Korean Zombie was winning. Other people thought Yair was winning. However you want to slice it, I mean, it was just a battle. They were just beating the shit. I mean, that Korean Zombie guy's face. I was watching that Fight Companion, and of course Joe Rogan and Brendan were not talking about the fight most of the time, but when they were like, he looks like a different person. He did. His face was so swollen, like his eyes were barely open. His cheeks were like twice. I mean, he just looked like a fucking squirrel trying to pack nuts in his cheeks. I mean, he had so much swelling, that Korean Zombie guy, and then he split his lip apparently. And it was a hell of a fight, and Yair was bleeding too, but he wasn't near as swollen. He apparently hurt his foot in the first round and everything else. But it was funny because I'm watching the fight, you know, and so fight's almost over. And Korean Zombie's probably winning, you know, and he charges in, ding, 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 last 10 seconds, charges in, and I have never, ever in my life seen something like that. But the guy, no look, elbowed him in the fucking face, right on the button, dropped him. And that was it. Right before the buzzer. And I'm like, you have to be fucking kidding me. Like, I couldn't even, it didn't seem real. And then I thought, it looked like somebody shot the guy. Like, Korean Zombie just got shot in the face. He's dead. He's laying there dead. And Paul Felder, I don't know if he said somebody headbutted or something. He like, well, fuck you. And he was all pissed off at people on social media afterwards. They were having sound troubles as far as I could tell. So he was like, what happened? You know, and I didn't hear him say headbutt or anything like that. And he's like apologizing and all this other stuff. I'm like, why the fuck are you apologizing? Like, I didn't hear you say anything wrong. I mean, you're making a bigger deal about it just because whatever. I don't even know. You know, I didn't fucking hear nothing. So why are you apologizing again? But it was a hell of a finish. I mean, the fucking timing on that. The guy come for you. He's coming right at you, and you duck down. I'm trying to act it out. So if the sound sounds funny, it's because I'm moving around trying to do it because I'm an idiot. Because this is somehow a visual medium, right? No, it's a podcast, you moron. They can only listen to you, so it behooves you to stay in front of the microphone. But he somehow just ducks down and puts his elbow right up at the right time on the chin, on the button, boom, down the guy goes. And then he went to the hospital, and they were, you know, taking pictures with each other and everything else. And it's good to see that they were okay after the fight. But Jesus fucking Christ, was that a good fight? I mean, it was an interesting back. It wasn't like a real like barn burner of a fight. Like they were getting knocked down every 12 seconds, but they were just. It was constant damage. I mean, it was that's one of them fights that's going to take a few years off your life. Like today when I tried to start this podcast and I had my headphones all screwed up, and then I like had them on my head and got too close to the microphone and got feedback in my ear, and now my fucking jaw hurts because the feedback was so loud. It took, you know, that took years off my ear. But the point being is that that's one of those fights where, like, you know, when they're 70 years old, they're gonna feel damage from that back, you know. And be like, oh yeah, I fought that guy. That's where that came from, you know. But it was a really good night of fights, and overall it wasn't too bad. You know, the overall card was pretty good. I was really only interested in the top 2 fights, though. I mean, as far as like names and stuff like that, because Pennington fought Durandamy. Who cares? You know, Rocky is an okay fighter. I don't see her as especially exciting. I didn't really care for her on Tough, and that Durandamy chick was like, I won the 145-pound belt. You want me to fight Cyborg? Fuck you, I'm going home. I broke every bone in my entire body, and it's going to take me as long as it takes me to recover, so you can strip me and take it away so I don't have to fight her. I mean, she's a good striker, whatever, but it just wasn't an interesting fight. And it was a decision 30-27 on all cards because she didn't do anything. So those kind of fights never interest me. And I don't know, maybe more people were interested in it than I was. That's fine. I just, you know, I mean, there wasn't a lot of, there was some excitement, you know, earlier in the prelims and, you know, earlier in the card, but it's just that I'm not a big grappling guy. Like I enjoy it to a degree, like what Cowboy was doing and stuff like that. Like I like that, but when Dariush and that other guy, Moises or whatever, were fighting each other, they were grappling each other because that's basically what they were doing. It was like I don't do that stuff, so I don't understand the intricacies of it. Whereas, you know, when there's real obvious stuff, like when Cowboy's kicking the shit out of Perry, I'm like, oh my God, that guy knows nothing about what's going on. Like, I can recognize that. When there's intricacies where, like, you listen to, like, Joe Rogan and those guys, because they're, you know, Eddie Bravo, I think Eddie Bravo was still there, or maybe he'd left at that point. I don't know. But they're black belt people, and Eddie Bravo's got the system, and Brendan Schaub trained jiu-jitsu. They can, like, see, okay, he's setting this up, he's going to do that, and then, look at what happened, you know, and I don't understand any of that. So I can notice the real noticeable stuff, but the intricacies of jiu-jitsu escape my grasp. But I really liked it, and I was glad for Cowboy. Mike Winklejohn needs to shut the fuck up. Yair is very exciting, even though somehow he was in Bellator because they had a big to-do with him, like the organization did. It was just this card. Like, the top 2 fights were 2 guys who had been in huge amounts of drama in the last year or so, because Yair's was quite a while ago already. But it was interesting guys and interesting fights, and then you got this cornerman who has one eye and no brain. So, I don't know. I'm not going to talk about that anymore, but just makes me sad. Because ESPN's taking it away from me, and I hate fucking ESPN Plus, so I hope it fails miserably. I probably won't, and I'll probably have to wind up having no TV by the time I'm like 37. But point is that I'm going to fight, what is that? Rage Against the Dying of the Light. That's what I'm doing. And I'm also going to do a little NFL this week. I haven't done too much on football. I just saw this thing on Pro Football Talk before I came on about how Ryan Switzer was grateful that the Pittsburgh Steelers came and saved him from where he was. There is Ryan Switzer is a receiver who played at North Carolina, got drafted by the Cowboys, and before the season was traded to the Raiders, and then was traded from the Raiders to the Steelers. That Raider team is, I mean, Bruce Irvin got released, went to the Falcons, ran out on the practice field, I'm free. I mean, everybody who leaves there is ecstatic. What kind of fucked up culture is John Gruden promoting? I mean, you know, everybody called him Chucky for a really long time because he looked like Chucky, the doll that kills people. Does he take that to heart? Like he makes his work environment a fucking horror movie? I mean, they traded Amari Cooper for a first-round pick, which I have no idea how they managed that, but they got rid of him. They traded Khalil Mack for a truckload of shit. They traded Ryan Switzer. They've gotten rid of they cut Bruce Irvin, and they wound up having to pay him his money, but they still got rid of him. And now he's with Atlanta, and they their defense is horrible. So, well, not horrible, but it sure as hell ain't the Falcons' defense. They've had a lot of injuries and stuff. Deion Jones is supposedly coming back, but he'll help them, hopefully. But the point being is if the Raiders are this bad, I mean, they had the controversy about whether Derek Carr was crying or not. People are just... I really don't understand what's happening. And it makes me sad. It makes me sad because for years I thought of John Gruden as a good football coach. He talked well. He made a lot of sense. But it seems like he's got brain damage. I mean, he must have fucking brain damage, as dumb as he is. He goes on the fucking TV and he says that people... Hey, I got a cell phone just like you. I got people calling me every day. They want to come here. No, they don't. No, they don't. They may want to come there because it's Oakland and you're moving to Vegas. But they don't want to do anything with you because you stink. You're terrible. Your team is terrible. Your coaching style is terrible. Your general manager, your managing is terrible. Everything you do apparently is horrible because everybody who leaves is like, oh, it's great. We're gone. And you can say, well, of course, those are people who left so they didn't get along with them. Well, there's quite a few people they've gotten rid of. I mean, Amari Cooper, I don't remember what the statistic was, but however many touchdowns he caught with the Raiders over the entire time he was there, and then in the first game he played with the Cowboys, he caught a fucking touchdown. And I think it was in like 7 or 8 plays or some fucking thing. I mean, it was almost as many plays as the games before that it took him to amass, a touchdown, because I think he only caught a touchdown when he was with the Raiders this year. And Khalil Mack had 2.5 sacks against the Lions, I think, and he was kicking the shit out of them. These guys are all good players. And then Mark Davis said that he had one conversation. Gruden had one conversation with Khalil, and then Khalil never talked to him again. He's probably as disrespectful as anybody because he gets this idea that he's on TV, and on TV nobody really checks him. Nobody really says, hey, John, that doesn't really make any sense, or, let's not do that, or whatever. And he just says whatever the fuck he wants to say, and that's it. And then who checks him on it? Fucking nobody, right? So what the fuck? Now he goes into an actual working environment with other humans and people who may have differing opinions than him, and just does the same thing. He is the analyst. I know everything. Okay, you're wrong. No, I'm never wrong, says the guy who said Nathan Peterman was the most NFL-ready quarterback in the draft, which is a cheap shot, but it's the truth. I mean, now, granted, a lot of people like Nathan Peterman, but to say he was the best quarterback, the most NFL-ready out of that entire group when Mahomes was there and Watson and all those other guys, it's not exactly fair. But he did it, and it's on his record. And now all of these defections, all of this disruption and discord and all those bad D words are on his fucking record as well. Because he cannot, will not, and just is incapable of being an adult. That's what it seems like to me. He's incapable of being an adult. So because he can't be an adult, he acts like a child, and, he only listens to people who tell him what he wants to hear, and if you don't agree with him, he tells you to shut up. That's the vibe I get. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. And Mark Davis is coming out to try to defray some of it and be like, oh, I shut him up badly. No, you just picked the wrong guy. And now you're stuck with him for 10 years. So have fun with that. I hope this gets better. I really do. For Raiders fans, for anybody who ever liked John Gruden, for anybody who ever liked the Raiders, even if you don't like them anymore and you still pay attention, I just hope it gets better. Good God, do I hope it gets better. Now the Packers. Because you want to go from one coach who's dysfunctional to another one. Now Rodgers is coming out and bitching about the offense and complaining about stuff. Oh, wow. And then I was watching, because it was on at the gym yesterday, and the guy was saying, I think it was that Domofsky or some fucking buddy from ESPN and Sports Center, because there was nothing on, except then I found Western Michigan versus Ball State, and they were talking about David Letterman because the game wasn't that interesting. But the guy was at the press conference, and he said, well, we'll see what happens to McCarthy, because they don't have very many changes to make. I mean, they got a new general manager and 2 new coordinators, so if they have another non-playoff season, there might be a big change in the offseason. Yeah, well, you know what, about 10 fucking off seasons ago, they should have changed it. Okay, maybe not that long, but still, like 4 or 5 ago, hey, they haven't done anything, and he stinks. And now the quarterback's mad. Of course he's fucking mad, because he's 34, he hurt his fucking knee, and now he realizes, shit, I only got this long to go yet. And he's fucking it's fucking idiots who think that fucking McCarthy's good at his job. He's not. Who the fuck? He must be like J. Edgar Hoover, who had all that dirt on everybody, and he's got a bunch of naked pictures of women, or that fucking Mark Murphy doing drugs or some fucking thing, because I say that all in jest. Don't fucking try to sue me. But the point being is that there must be, like, what reason? You tell me a fucking reason why that guy should still be employed. What? What has he done? He won 1 Super Bowl 8 years ago. That qualifies you for lifetime employment? It's like Bomani Jones. I was talking to him about it on Twitter like 2 weeks ago when I was bitching, and he said, I don't know if I said this when I bitched about McCarthy the last time, but he's like, yeah, he's going to get as many years on the back end as a Super Bowl as Chuck Noll got off of 4. And the expectation for success around here is far lower than in other places. In Boston, they expect to win, New York, they expect to win every year. When they're losers, then they're mad, or they lose all the time. Like, they're either Mets and Jets fans, or they're Yankee and Giant fans who expect to win all the time. The Giant fans are pissed because they lose, and they might not make the playoffs, and they won't get to the Super Bowl. That's what they're mad about. The Packer fans, if we make it to the playoffs as fans, and we make a little noise, okay, that's good. That's good. That was a good season. No, it's not. You just got a worse draft pick, you idiots. Unless you win it all, there's no point in getting that far. That is what the analytics say. That is what the statistics say. And of course, it makes sense. Because you get the better fucking player. You get a better chance of getting a better player. If you're not an idiot and screw it up. You draft some guy like 3rd overall who's terrible. I mean, if you do that, then you're a dum-dum. But the point being is you have a chance at 1st overall, or at 2nd overall, or at 3rd overall, which if the fucking Raiders get the 1st overall pick, good luck. Good fucking luck. I bet they don't pick anybody who's worth a goddamn. They're going to pick the Nathan Peterman of the next fucking generation. But the point being is that they get a better chance. And in Wisconsin, as long as you get in the playoffs, we don't care. We don't care, because our expectation of success is so much lower than other places. There's nowhere else that I know of that their expectation for success is that low. I mean, I guess there's certain places like the Knights last year. They didn't expect them to do anything, and they went to the fucking Stanley Cup. So now, do they expect them to go to the Stanley Cup? They fucking should. At least go there. If you lose, at least you lost in the championship game. Now, that really sucks for your draft pick, and so my idea of that is kind of shot in the ass. But I honestly would do that, because, you have a better chance of getting a better player, getting a higher player, and then if you go to the Super Bowl or you go to the championship game and you lose, well, then you have experience. You got guys who know what to do. It takes to get there. You know what to do. I don't know. And then they had troubles against the Dolphins with certain things. Aaron Jones, they finally started playing more, and then he's running all over the Dolphins, and Rodgers comes out and he's like, we need to give Aaron Jones more touches. No shit, I've been saying this for 6 fucking weeks. I just don't understand how this stuff is that difficult. You know what I mean? Like, the common sense aspect of the world has completely dissipated, and I don't understand why that is. Because not everybody can be that stupid. You know what I mean? It has to be willful at some point. Like, you have to truly choose to be a dum-dum. And if you're choosing to be a dum-dum, that's really sad. You should be sad. You should cry yourself to sleep every night. Because that's a bad choice. Make a better choice. I'm not talking about this anymore because I'm going to get myself in trouble. And I promised that I was going to talk about I was going to do my viewable entertainment section. And so I will finish with that because it's kind of uplifting-ish, also sort of depressing-ish. There's a show called Baskets. Many of you may know it. Some of you may not. Some of you might not like it because it was written and produced at certain points. It was produced and at certain points written by Louis C.K. And a lot of people might not like him. However, I heard this interesting thing. It was some comedian on Joe Rogan's podcast. I think it was Kyle Dunnigan, maybe. I don't know. But they were talking about Louis' show. And on one of Louis' episodes, he had a girl. It was like kid version of Louis because he actually had his own show. It was a kid version of Louis, and the girl asked him to masturbate in front of her, and he did it. And they were talking about how sexuality is formed and all that stuff, and how maybe Louis had that happen because a lot of that stuff in his show actually happened in his life. So if that happened to him, then at some point he, fetishized that. It became something that just, it was his kink, it was his thing, you know what I mean? And so did he do it in inappropriate times? Did he do inappropriate things? Yes. But there may be a reason for it. Like it might be a compulsory thing that he couldn't really help, and should he have done it? Probably not. Is it inappropriate? Yes. But it's nowhere near what Bill Cosby did. It's nowhere near what, some of the other transgressions are. I think, like I said, I was thinking, I was talking about assault the other day with somebody, and I was just saying I don't really think we know what that word means anymore, because it's bandied about for so many different topics, and the severity of the word doesn't have the same, connotation, which is depressing to me because you use certain words to describe things differently, and each word has a certain, at least to me, it has a certain severity to it. And if you say assault, that means something really bad happened. If you don't say assault, if you say, I don't know, like my quibble with the NBA when they were talking about what happened with the Lakers and the Lakers and the Rockets when they had their brawl. What happened there was not a brawl, okay? What happened there was a skirmish, maybe a scuffle, a dust-up at best. But a brawl connotates a big event of people flying around punching each other. That isn't what happened. So, anyway, get all the way off of that. You may not like Baskets because it is done by Louis C.K., but I enjoy it. It stars Zach Galifianakis. Louis Anderson's playing a woman, cross-dressing. I think that's what you call it, or I don't fucking know. But anyway, Louis Anderson's playing Zach Galifianakis' mother, Chip, and he also plays two characters. There's twins, Chip and Dale. Dale Baskets is also played by Zach Galifianakis, and Louis is their mother, and then they also have two twin brothers. I think her name's Martha Kelly, and her name's Martha in the show, and she's friends with Chip. She's an insurance adjuster, and in the pilot episode, she hits him with her car. She hits his scooter with her car, somebody gets hit, and then she's his adjuster. I don't really know, but something happens where his scooter gets fucked up and he has to call insurance. I think Martha was involved. The second time I know she was. But anyway, it's a really dark comedy. It's a really dark comedy, but it's about family, and it's very interesting in the way that it's handled because the comedy aspect of it is great. However, the darkness of it is always there, and he's a very depressed, sad individual. He kind of does his own thing, and it's just if you haven't seen it, I don't want to go into it in detail. What I think I'm going to do with my viewable entertainment is I'm going to talk about him and then give subsequent weeks, and then I'm going to talk about the show. Again, I'm going to give my review of it. Like, okay, now you've seen, okay, I recommended in episode 7 to watch Ray Donovan. Well, here's my synopsis of the show, and I'm going to talk about things that happened in the show and stuff like that. I think that would be a good idea because I really like those shows. And I like I said, I think Baskets, Louis Anderson playing a woman, I've heard a lot of interviews because he's gotten a lot of praise for it. And he said he comes from Minnesota, and he said he had to truly embrace the character, he had to figure out who to play. And so he started playing his mother. And apparently his dad was a big jerk, and his mother was a really nice lady. And so if you had a mother like Louis Anderson in the show, she's kind of, she's not perfect, but she's your mother, and he does a really great job. I mean, he really does a great job. And I've always liked Louis Anderson because he had an animated show when I was a kid, and something about his voice, I liked his weird voice. I'm also a fan of Gilbert Gottfried, so I have a thing for, like, I'm interested in you can get me if you have funny voices, and it's something like if you're a comedian or something and you got a funny voice, I will probably follow you because whatever reason, in funny voices things sound funnier. I know that's really pedantic to say, but for me, some like Gilbert Gottfried, either you like him or you can't stand him. Well, I pretty much like him. They have certain guest stars, and Chip he comes back from France as a clown. He goes to France to learn how to be a clown and stuff like that. And you get to see, and this is all from the pilot episode, so I'm really not spoiling anything. But there's a lot of really dark shit that goes on, and a lot of funny shit too. I mean, it's not just dark. Like it's there's one part in an episode where I was laughing about it the other night, where Martha is upset because she adopted a dog and she thinks it doesn't like her. And so Chip comes over and he goes to help her, and he goes in the room where the dog is, and he comes out and he goes, "Martha, that's a coyote." And he's like, "Look at your house. It's a pigsty and your roommate's with a coyote." I don't know why I think that's fucking funny, but I do. And then they overdid it with, "It's a coyote sty," which I didn't think was funny. The roommates with the coyote is funnier yet, because why the fuck would you be roommates with a coyote? It's just ridiculous, but it's hilarious. They have funny fucking lines. And I was listening to this also about, I think this was from Kyle Dunnigan when he was on Joe Rogan's podcast, where Joe Rogan was talking about how, like, he doesn't want to do things to be like a sitcom. And Joe was talking about, like, acts that they tried to push, do your comedic act, like your comedy act, like on stage, to try to push a sitcom. And one of the guys that never did that was Zach Galifianakis. And that fucking show that he does is not like anything else. And I think that's one of the reasons I like it too, is because it's new, it's interesting, it's different. And it's also the darkness, the darkness that I have within myself permeates what I like to watch, because I like the things that there is a undercurrent of darkness, because no matter what happens with me, I always have that. And so the shows I like to see and I like to watch also have that, because I don't know if it reaffirms my belief that I'm not alone or whatever, but the idea that happens, really, I enjoy that. And I know that's probably fucked up, but the point being is that is how I feel. And I would like to, I wish it was different. I wish I didn't like fucked up shit that was a little dark, funny but dark. Ray Donovan's really dark. The Gambler is one of the darkest fucking movies I've ever seen in certain spots. Eraser's just a stupid action movie, so there's really no darkness. I mean, there is darkness, but not, it's like perfunctory darkness. It's like, who cares, But I definitely suggest it's on FX. If you have FX, they have it on at night. You can tape it if you have a DVR. Otherwise, you can go on FX on demand and see it. You watch it with commercials. You can get FX Plus now and watch it without commercials. Oh my God! I wonder how much they fucking charge for that. I like how they promote fucking FX Plus on the fucking commercial, as a commercial on the fucking regular TV that I'm already paying too much money for. the insulting of my intelligence drives me. Like, now I have Dish Network, and I don't know if anybody else has this, but if you have a DVR, do you get channels or like not channels, commercials, like implanted in your shows? I can't imagine that that's legal, because what happens is I know like I'll go along and I'll fast forward. I have a 30-second head because I have the Hopper. I think it's the third version. I have a 30-second head. So on Dan Le Batard's show, when I watch his radio show, it's about a 6.5 minute break in between segments. So I do 6.5 minutes, and then I'll get right to the end, and then it'll start to show the show for a few seconds, and then it'll play like a Stars commercial, or it'll play, there's a commercial for a drug that it's been playing now, and it'll play that. And if you go back 10 seconds, it goes back to the regular thing. So I don't know what that is, and I don't even know if that's legal, but I know that happens. And I typed it in on the internet. I don't really see anybody talking about it, so I guess it's maybe just Dish or maybe it's just me, but that I really don't like, because that's about, I don't want to watch your fucking stupid commercials. You can put them on. I'll tape the thing. I have a DVR, so I don't have to watch commercials, you cocksuckers. That pisses me off, but I don't know. I don't want to pay fucking $7 a month for, I don't want to pay $5 a month for ESPN. I don't want to pay $7 a month for because then I got to buy, so then I have to have individual accounts for each one of these fucking things. That's why Dish and cable is better, because it's all handled for me. And if you guys didn't charge exorbitant amounts of money, people would still be on it, you morons. So now they have to do it and do it themselves and make all the money, because, that's how that goes. Because Netflix stole a large amount of our profit center. You fucking can't talk, idiot. So, I don't know. I guess, if I'm on a podcast and I'm bitching about streaming, it's kind of, pot calling the kettle black, because I have the podcast, and younger people who would be more apt to streaming are probably listening to my podcast, but watch regular TV, listen to my podcast. I mean, I listen to my podcast. I listen to a podcast in the car. Sometimes it is mine, I won't lie. But sometimes I listen to the podcast in the car. Well, I can't fucking watch TV. I mean, you can, I suppose. They used to have those TVs you could put on your dash, and then if you got picked up, you got a big-ass fine for them. But the point being is, you used to be able to watch, you could, ostensibly could watch TV if you wanted, but I wouldn't recommend it. So listening to podcasts is what you do in the car, because it's better than terrestrial radio. Terrestrial radio sucks. And in the way that terrestrial radio sucks, I guess you could say that is the cable version of television, but it's different because I can get iTunes and get all the music that I want, and I have to pay for it. And then I'm in charge of when I play or what I play. And you can say that for TV too, but the difference to me, and I guess maybe it's just me, is that the radio is a free service. And I don't watch regular TV at all anymore, which isn't even free, because local channels cost me $7 a month. And I don't see radio and digitized music as the same thing, because they always had tapes, they always had CDs, they always had that. It was records, it was an alternative. The music is free. You listen to the radio in the car for free. You pay for the radio. It's a one-shot cost. If I could buy a DVR that, okay, you can have access to all the cable channels. You used to be able to do that if you had a big enough satellite dish when they first started cable, before they figured out how to get rid of that. But now streaming is different, because to get these channels, I have to pay X amount of money to a company to have access to them. I don't care about the over-the-airwave free channels. I mean, CBS, that kind of stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about cable channels. Like, this would be similar to if I had XM Sirius that I paid for in my car, and then I had to, and then I went to my phone. And I was, that would be a similar, concept to me. I don't see radio as being the same thing, because it's free. I'm not bitching, that I had to go from free TV to fucking Netflix. I'm going from paid TV to a different kind of paid TV, because people are stupid, and the fucking cable companies are stupid too, because the people are stupid in the way that they're flocking to this shit in the big cities, which is fine. But the problem is that on the outskirts of the cities and the places that don't have reliable or inexpensive internet are going to be screwed. And nobody cares about us, and that's fine. You don't have to care about us. I care about us. And then the other thing being is that I already pay for this, and now you want me to pay more to get something else. Not happening. Fuck you. That's how I feel about it. That'd be like if on Sirius they had Sirius Plus, and you could only get that on your phone. And so then I had to buy Sirius. I had to pay for Sirius Plus, pay for Sirius Plus, and then put it on my phone. And then I got exclusive content on Sirius Plus. I don't even know if that exists. I don't give a shit about, because I just listen to my phone. So I don't have, I downloaded all the music that I want, and I download podcasts, and that's it. I don't do anything else. So, wow. That was a really aggressive way to end, but that is where I'm going to end today, folks. Again, happy Thanksgiving. This is the week of Thanksgiving. Please do not eat too much and drive carefully if you're driving around by me or if you're driving in general. I don't know what the weather's going to be like, but hopefully the snow will go away. In my area, I want to say don't shoot anybody, hunters, because I don't really say good luck because I think the hunting around here is a little insane. Like, I'm not anti-hunting. I'm anti the, like, you're on my land, get the fuck away from me, rah! Like that fucking bullshit that goes on around here about the hunting. They're just nuts. I mean, you swear to God, they got some kind of like fucking rabies about it. It's craziness. I'm not against hunting, but I'm against the fucking attitude that these people have. But if you are hunting, please be safe. Don't shoot anybody. Be careful. Make sure it's a deer before you pull the trigger. And definitely, if you're in a goddamn tree stand, be fucking careful, because I don't know how many people every year fall down a fucking tree stand, or the gun isn't unsafe, and then they're dead, I had a guy I used to bowl with. His family farm had to go under and be sold and everything else because he was of the siblings that he had. His parents had a farm, and then the siblings didn't want to do it other than him. And he went up to tree stand, and he fell down, and the gun got caught on a branch and shot him in the fucking face. You might say that's his own fault, but still, and it fucked up a lot of other people. So, and he wasn't that old of a guy either. And we bowled. He was a damn good bowler. I was jealous of him because we used to bowl his team, and he was always late because he had to do the cows, and fucking guy would come in, and we'd be about 4 frames behind or 5 frames behind, and we'd be winning, and that fucker would come and throw like 5 strikes, and then be like, son of a bitch, they're beating us. God damn it, I hate you. Why don't you stay home, is what I used to say to him. I'd be like, don't come. Just don't come when you play us. I don't care what you do the rest of the weeks. When we're here, don't be here, because then at least we'd win, But, yeah. I don't know. But anyway, so hunters, be safe. People be driving, be safe. And happy Thanksgiving. If you would like to get a hold of me or reach out, it is Enlightened Misanthrope on all of your social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and that's all the social media platforms that I use. You can also email me. If you use my SoundCloud, you can find my email through my SoundCloud. I think it's the Enlightened Misanthrope at Gmail, or the Enlightened Misanthrope at Hotmail. We have 2 of them because the people who set up my SoundCloud set it up with a different email, which is fine. Either way, I'll respond. I check them both semi-regularly because I don't have a lot of correspondence with anybody. Follow me on Twitter. So, like my shit on, like my shit on Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff. Like the video on YouTube and download it on iTunes. Rate and review me. All that kind of stuff. If you're listening, let me know about it, and just help me out a little bit. Let me know what you think, and we'll go from there. And, if you want to get a hold of me, like I said, I'm more than willing to talk to people. I might not get back to you immediately, but I'll get back to you pretty soon. So, all right. Well, once again, have a happy Thanksgiving. And until the next time, this is the Enlightened Misanthrope.